was at a school recently having lunch with some pupils, and they asked me that question, not what I do, but why I do it. And I think, why I'm involved in being an educational consultant is because I had privilege to have such a fantastic education myself. I went to a Catholic boarding school as a day pupil to begin with and boarded in the sixth form. And that gave me a compass for life, to coin a phrase. And so I picked up how to be resilient, how to be positive, how to deal with success and failure in equal measure. I really got to know myself and to really understand what education was about. And some of the highlights of my schooling, I was at a school which played a lot of rugby, but I was in the orchestra and in the choir and kind of in the chapel performing more than on the rugby pitch freezing. But that was... So I learned a lot from my education, and why I do what I do is because I want other people to share that experience and to really have those set of values in their own lives. So I think that's really important. The other reason why I do what I do is because UK schools are very popular. A census came, you'll have heard about kind of VAT and all these things and doom and gloom. But the ISC census, the Independent Schools Council census, came out a few days ago in the press, and the press picks up negativity. They love negativity. But the positive thing was that 25,500 pupils are in the independent sector in the UK from overseas, which is a fantastic number of pupils. And there's 1,300 Nigerian pupils currently studying in the UK, which is huge. So it shows it's really popular. The question is, why use an educational consultant as well? Because you've got, everyone knows something about British schools, and you could name half a dozen off the top of your head. But actually, that doesn't mean to say it's the right school, and parents... You can get drawn to, well, that's a really good school, I've heard of that, let's make an inquiry, or I saw an advert somewhere, it popped up on my feed, or let's ask ChatGPT which school I should be going to in September or something. I think that's the next competition. But I think it is all about fit, and you wouldn't invest in, we're in a financial wealth event at the moment, and you wouldn't invest in a pension, you wouldn't invest money in the bank, you wouldn't use a VAT consultant just from seeing an advert in a magazine or somebody saying, well, I used them 10 years ago and I went there and they were good enough for me, so they should be good enough for you. It is a process. And actually the process starts with the parents and includes the child. So we have 6 steps that we go through, but the first step is really getting to know the parents, where they fit socially, what kind of school they're looking for, because there's a kind of social structure in the independent schools world, what they're looking for in terms of academics. Location is very important as well, because not everyone wants a school in the southeast or in London. They can be looking for a school in Scotland or the West Country or the north of England.
Or Wales.
Or Wales. We must remember to wave the Welsh flag. And so location is really important. But actually, it's also getting to know the child. We interview the children and we talk to them about what they enjoy doing at school, what their highlights are, how they would describe themselves as a person in 3 words, the kind of interview technique you'd use for a job interview. And the parents obviously online for that as well. And that's really powerful because the parents really discover more about their children as a result of that interview.
You talked about values. And you talked about working with parents and children. I think as an educator, one of the important things we need to know is education isn't done to children, it's done with children. They must be involved in the conversation at the earliest stage. I'm as I mentioned earlier, quite old, and I've been in education a long thanks. I've been in education a long time, but I was educated back in the 60s and 70s. What I know about my own education doesn't actually translate to today's education. Things have changed and moved on. Hopefully I've kept up to speed through being in charge of schools. So as parents, when we go to look for schools for our children, what we had isn't necessarily what our children need or want. So really important that we talk and work with, as Mark says, this triangle of support to ensure that we get the best fit for the family, the best fit for the child, and the best fit for the school. Really important. And you use the word values. It's very important to align values with the school or the institution that you're going to. And you find this not from the website. We can all write our values there. We find this by talking and interrogating and discussing with the people that lead these institutions and the people that work within these institutions. Really important, as parents, you get under the skin of what's said and you find out what we really do. Expect more. Set high expectations for young people. They are wonderful people. If you set an expectation beyond where they are at the moment, believe me, children try harder and work hard to get there. It's absolutely critical that when somebody comes to you, that you talk to them about what they want. We don't just look at their school reports and see what they've done previously. I want to know about where they want to be in the future. Where's their vision? Where's their ideal place? One of my pet hates with schools is that we educate children quite often for our own ends. We educate them to do well in our schools. I really would like to be able to educate children to go somewhere else. When children leave our schools, they leave our schools at age 18. They're still infants in life. So if we're not preparing them for the next place that they go to, we're not doing our job. So really, really important we find out who they are, where they would like to go, where they see their vision for their future somewhere down the line, and we can help them to start to realize and unpack and explore those visions. Now, to be clear, I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a child.
Tom Cruise, I can see it. Actually.
Tom Cruise.
There is a resemblance.
I'll take the Tom Cruise, thank you. Sadly, as you can see, this eyesight deficiency will have held me back. I'm a little bit short, and my physics was terrible. So
Tom Cruise is short.
Yeah, well, he is, but he's not a real fighter pilot.
Really?
No. Some people say he's an actor. Anyway, so it's important that we understand and we hear what young people say, but we work with them to refine their vision, to go to somewhere they want to go. And this is not about crushing their ambition. It's about helping them to understand where they can best use their attributes to be the best version of themselves in the future. So how do we get great results? We get great results by talking to the children, by setting high expectation, and by working with them and working education with them rather than to them. I'm going to tell a little story here, if you don't mind me, just for once, indulge me. I was listening to the radio last Saturday, and there was a lady on the radio who's a famous artist in the United Kingdom, and she has a Radio 2 show as well. And they were asking her about why she was so successful. And she said, I'm a singer, I'm an actress. All my achievements have come because I was so inspired by one of my teachers in school. And we're all sitting here now thinking, that's great. An inspirational teacher put you where you were. Do you know what I was thinking? What a disaster. What a disappointment that she was only inspired by one teacher. Every teacher should be inspirational. Every teacher should be setting high expectation. Every teacher should be working hard to make sure that the young person in their charge is not just good at mathematics, but has a broad understanding of the curriculums in sciences, in humanities, in languages, in creative subjects, are able to communicate well, are able to problem solve well. If every one of us is inspirational, this child has a huge portfolio of experiences to choose from in order to display their own excellence in the future. So expect more, do more, be more.
I'm very keen to train the schools on understanding Nigeria. I'm a number one Nigeria fan, and I've brought hundreds of head teachers and marketing directors and registrars to Nigeria over this time. And the message that I bring them, and we visit schools here as well, and there's some fantastic schools, such as, around the corner from us, and I kind of blow their expectations. They have a perception of Nigeria education is going to be one level, and we visit the schools, meet the pupils, and it's like, my goodness, they're so bright, engaging, hardworking. And I say, this is why, when they come to the UK, they become head boys and head girls in your UK schools. There's not a school that I work with that hasn't had recently a head boy or head girl in their school. And I was at a school in Oxford recently, and I said, why is that? I was asking the head girl, who's Nigerian, what is it about the Nigerian kind of psyche that they all kind of strive to do well? And she'd only been there 6 months before she was kind of head girl. And she said, well, in Nigeria, they teach us to be the head, otherwise you're the tail. So you always have to be kind of out front and not left behind, which I thought was really good. But also, I only work with schools who are welcoming and understand Nigerians, and Nigerian families and international families from all over the world have really high expectations. The high expectations are particularly in communication between the school and the parent. The UK parents are fairly kind of laid back, and you kind of get a school report and you go to a school play and you go to a cheese and wine with the head and you're happy. But actually, if it's gone 24 hours and you haven't heard from the school with a Nigerian parent, it's like, what's happening? What do they do today? And what are the results? And how can I kind of... They just want to be completely on board and no surprises, and you have to be incredibly proactive. Which is why there's one particular school, which is probably the most popular school in Nigeria, in the UK for Nigerian families, part of the Duke's Education Group, called Earlscliffe College, and they produce weekly tests and weekly school reports. So you're always up to speed with how your child is doing.
British schools are increasingly establishing campuses here in Nigeria. So along the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway, you notice some billboard talking about this school here. It's a British school located here in Nigeria. So the question is, what is driving this international expansion and why Nigeria?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And I've been working here a long time, and I'm working with UK schools, but also working with Rugby School Nigeria. And I was visiting there recently, and it kind of struck me, this is a dream come true, because you don't have to send your child from Nigeria to the UK anymore. You can, there's options to send a child to Rugby School Nigeria, opens year 7, age 11 this September, or sixth form this September. And it's fantastic to have choice out there. The question is why now? And the timing is really perfectly right, because the exchange rate's a challenge for sending the children to the UK at the moment, so it's not for everybody. A lot of people can still afford it. We're talking about the 1,300 just now. But if you want to kind of send them later to the UK or send them to university in the UK, if you go to the UK, it's a UK education and UK culture. But in Nigeria, the rugby school is a British curriculum within the African context. So the examples in geography, in science, history, have a kind of foundation in examples from Africa, literature as well. And I think it's really important, the finance isn't driving pupils to come to Rugby School Nigeria. It's actually the cultural fit as well, that Rugby School will support the development of your child within Nigeria and with Africa, and really ensure they have their Africanness ready to come to the UK if they want to for a sixth form or university. I think the other really encouraging thing is that the schools in Lagos are realising they need to up their game as well. So the whole of the education quality will rise in Lagos because Rugby School Nigeria is down the road. And just to plug, in your packs, there's a flyer about Rugby School Nigeria, and at coffee time, Joy from the marketing department, who heads up the marketing, is here as well. But just to say, I'm kind of backing both fields, because I'm not in this to make money or to kind of have a successful career. You know, the Nigerian education is number one priority for me, and coming to the UK is brilliant, or working in Nigeria and studying in Nigeria is brilliant as well. So I want to support all of the options available.